Captain Jack Miller stood at the viewport of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon, his eyes fixed on the strange collection of ships that drifted before him. They were unlike anything he had seen before, a mismatched fleet of small vessels that seemed to be barely holding together. The ships showed signs of damage, with makeshift repairs visible even from this distance. "What do you make of it, Sam?" Jack asked, turning to his communications officer. Samantha Powell looked up from her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies, sir. It looks like a distress call. Can you clean it up?" Sam nodded, her fingers dancing across the controls. A moment later, a strange musical language filled the bridge. It was beautiful, but completely alien. "Run it through the translator," Jack ordered. The computer worked for several seconds before a halting voice emerged. "Help. Please help. We are the last. They hunt us. No one will help." Jack frowned. "Open a channel." When Sam nodded that the line was open, Jack cleared his throat. "This is Captain Jack Miller of the Earth vessel Horizon. We've received your distress call. Please identify yourselves." There was a long pause before the reply came. "We are Nylari. Last 12,000 of our kind, fleeing death. Can you help us?" Jack exchanged glances with his first officer, Commander Ben Foster. "We should inform Earth Command," Ben suggested. Jack nodded in agreement. "Tell them we're making first contact with a refugee species. Request instructions." While they waited for a response from Earth, Jack ordered a closer approach to the alien fleet. As they drew near, their sensors revealed more about the condition of the refugee ships. Life support was failing on several vessels. Power systems were operating at minimal levels. And most concerning, there were signs that these ships had recently been in combat. "Sir," said Lieutenant Olivia Hayes from the tactical station, "I'm detecting weapons damage on most of their vessels. Some of it appears recent, within the last few days. Who's hunting them?" Jack wondered aloud. The answer came sooner than expected. The ship's sensors chimed an alert, and Olivia straightened in her chair. "Captain, long-range scanners have detected a large group of ships entering the system. Their energy signatures are completely different from the refugee vessels." "How many?" 23 ships, sir. And they're big, much larger than the Horizon." Jack turned to Sam. "See if you can get more information from the refugees. I want to know what we're dealing with." Sam established contact with what appeared to be the lead Nylari ship. To everyone's surprise, they requested permission to send a representative aboard the Horizon. "They say they can explain everything better in person," Sam reported. After security checks, Jack approved the request. Within the hour, the first Nylari set foot on the Horizon. The alien was tall and slender, with pale blue skin and large, expressive eyes that seemed to catch and reflect light in unusual ways. 4 long fingers adorned each hand, and its movements were graceful despite obvious exhaustion. "I am Elder Lyra," the Nylari said, bowing slightly. Its voice was melodic even through the translator. "Thank you for answering our call when so many have turned away." Jack led Elder Lyra to the ship's conference room where key crew members had gathered. Dr. Alan Nichols, the ship's xenobiologist, couldn't hide his fascination as he scanned the visitor. "Your species is telepathic," Alan blurted out, studying his readings. Lyra turned those reflective eyes toward him and nodded. "Yes, it is why we are hunted." The story that unfolded over the next hour chilled everyone in the room. The Nylari were a peaceful species whose natural telepathic abilities had made them targets of the Vorn Dominion, a militaristic empire that saw the Nylari as evolutionary aberrations too dangerous to exist. "They fear what they cannot understand," Lyra explained. "Our minds are open to each other in ways the Vorn cannot comprehend. They believe we can control others, though we cannot. We only share and receive thoughts when both minds are willing." "UI said others have turned you away," Jack said. "Who?" "We have approached 17 civilizations in the Galactic Council," Lyra replied, a note of sadness entering their melodic voice. "All refuse to help. They fear the Vorn too much to stand against them." "And those ships entering the system now?" Olivia asked. A Vorn hunting fleet. They have tracked us across 7 star systems. We thought we had escaped, but they always find us. Lyra's hands trembled slightly. Our children are starving. Our ships fail. We have nowhere left to run. At that moment, Sam entered the conference room. Captain, we've received a response from Earth Command. They want to speak with you immediately. The heated debate that followed with Earth leadership played out on the main screen. Some officials argued that humanity was too new to galactic affairs to get involved in conflicts between alien species. Others pointed out that Earth's military was no match for the advanced technology of the Vorn. We've seen their weapons capabilities, General Claire Peterson said grimly. If we provoke them, they could devastate Earth. Jack listened to all the arguments, then spoke. With respect, General, we're talking about the survival of an entire species, 12,000 individuals, all that remains of their civilization. They've approached 17 advanced races for help and been turned away. Are we going to be the 18th? Lieutenant Olivia Hayes stepped forward, unable to remain silent. Sir, permission to speak freely? When Jack nodded, Olivia addressed the officials on the screen. We joined Starfleet to explore, to learn, and to represent the best of humanity. If we turn these people away knowing they face extinction, what does that say about us? Our ancestors once turned away refugees and regretted it for generations. Will we make the same mistake on a galactic scale? The debate continued until a proximity alert sounded. Olivia rushed to a nearby console. The Vorn fleet has increased speed. They'll be within weapons range in 6 hours. As uncertainty hung in the air, Dr. Alan Nichols made a discovery that changed everything. Captain, I've been studying the Nylari physiology. Their telepathic abilities aren't just a means of communication. They have remarkable healing properties. This could revolutionize human medicine, especially for neurological disorders we haven't been able to treat. Jack looked back at the screen where Earth's leadership was still deliberating. We don't have time for more debate. These people need our help now. I'm asking for permission to offer them protection. There was a long silence before the President herself appeared on screen. Captain Miller, what you're asking could bring us into conflict with a superior force. Yes, Madam President. But sometimes being human means standing up even when you're outmatched. The President's expression was grave as she considered the implications. After what seemed like an eternity, she nodded. Very well, Captain. Offer them sanctuary in Earth space. Commander Doyle is already en route to your position with 3 additional vessels. They were sending supplies to the Centauri colony, but I'm diverting them to you. Do what you can until they arrive. As the communication ended, Jack turned to Elder Lyra, whose eyes had widened during the exchange. Your people would risk war for strangers? Lyra asked in disbelief. It wouldn't be the first time, Jack replied with a small smile. Tell your people they're under Earth's protection now. We're bringing you home with us. As Jack issued orders to prepare for the arrival of both the reinforcements and the approaching Vorn fleet, he knew they were making history. For better or worse, humanity had just announced its moral stance to the galaxy. 3 Earth vessels appeared at the edge of the system, pushing their engines to the limit as they raced toward the horizon. Commander Eric Doyle stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Defiant, watching as the distance to Captain Miller's position steadily decreased. Status report, Eric called out, his eyes never leaving the main screen. We're at maximum speed, sir, replied the helmsman. ETA to rendezvous point is 42 minutes. Eric nodded grimly. And the Vorn fleet? They'll reach the refugee ships in just under 3 hours. It wasn't much time, but it would have to be enough. Eric's ships had been hastily retrofitted, with extra weapons and shields after receiving the President's orders. The cargo holds that once carried supplies for the Centauri colony now contained emergency rations, medical equipment, and spare parts for the failing Nylari vessels. Back on the horizon, Captain Jack Miller was coordinating with the Nylari to prepare for evacuation. Elder Lyra had returned to the main refugee ship to help organize their people, while engineer Madison Clark led a team to assess which Nylari vessels could make the journey to Earth and which were beyond repair. "We have a problem, Captain," Madison reported over the comm. "At least 4 of their ships won't survive a long-distance jump. Life support is barely functioning, and their engines are shot." Jack frowned. "How many people are on those ships?" "About 3,000, sir. We'll need to distribute them among our vessels and their remaining functional ships," Jack decided. "Begin transfer preparations." As Jack ended the communication, Sam called out from her station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's from the Vorn fleet." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a harsh, angular face. The alien's skin was deep gray with ridged features that gave it a perpetually angry expression. When it spoke, the voice was cold and precise. "I am Admiral Krell of the Vorn Dominion. You are harboring biological aberrations that have been deemed a threat to galactic stability. Withdraw your vessel immediately, or face elimination alongside the aberrations." Jack stepped forward. "This is Captain Jack Miller of Earth. The Nylari are under our protection now. They've done nothing to warrant persecution." Admiral Krell's expression didn't change. "Your species is young and ignorant of galactic matters. The Nylari represent an evolutionary dead end that threatens natural development. Their telepathic abilities are a corruption that must be purged. We've examined the Nylari. They're peaceful and pose no threat to anyone," Jack replied firmly. "Your assessment is irrelevant. Earth has no standing in the Galactic Council. Remove your vessel within 1 planetary rotation, or be destroyed with the aberrations." The transmission cut off. Abruptly, Jack turned to his crew. "Opinions?" Ben Foster, his first officer, spoke first. "They're serious about this. From what Elder Lyra told us, the Vorn have been systematically hunting down the Nylari for years." "But why?" Olivia asked. "What could they possibly gain from wiping out an entire species?" Before anyone could answer, Sam interrupted. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission. Multiple signals, actually. They appear to be from several Galactic Council representatives. One by one, the faces of different alien species appeared on the screen. They expressed varying degrees of concern and outrage at Earth's interference. "The humans do not understand what they are doing," said a reptilian alien with elaborate head crests. "This is not your conflict," added another with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. "The Vorn are a founding member of the Council. Earth is not even a recognized associate." A third representative, whose translucent skin revealed pulsing organs beneath, spoke more directly. "We strongly advise you to withdraw, Captain Miller. The Vorn will not hesitate to destroy your ship and then pursue your homeworld for this offense." Jack listened to each warning with growing frustration. "With respect," he finally replied, "if the Council is aware of what's happening to the Nylari, why haven't you intervened? They've nearly been wiped out." The aliens exchanged uncomfortable glances. The reptilian representative answered, "The internal affairs of the Vorn Dominion are not subject to Council oversight." "Genocide isn't an internal affair," Jack shot back. As the debate continued, Dr. Alan Nichols was in the medical bay making a remarkable discovery. He had been studying the samples he'd taken from Elder Lyra with permission, fascinated by the Nylari brain structure. "This is incredible," he murmured, reviewing the neural scans. A young Nylari child who had been brought aboard for emergency treatment watched him curiously from a nearby bed. "What is incredible?" the child asked through the translator. Alan looked up, surprised. "Oh, I didn't realize you were awake. I was just studying how your brain works. It's very different from ours." The child tilted their head. "I can show you if you want." "Show me? How would you—" Before Alan could finish, the child reached out and gently touched his hand. Instantly, Alan felt a strange sensation, like a door opening in his mind. Images and feelings flowed into his consciousness, not invasive or overwhelming, but warm and curious, like a friendly conversation without words. When the connection ended a moment later, Alan stared at the child, in amazement. "I felt what you were feeling. You showed me your memories." The child nodded. "This is how we learn. This is how we heal." Alan's scientific mind raced with the implications. Can you show me more about healing? Meanwhile, Commander. Eric Doyle's ships had arrived and joined the Horizon in defensive formation around the Nilari fleet. Eric met with Jack in the Horizon's conference room to coordinate their next moves. Earth Command wants us to escort them back as quickly as possible, Eric explained. We've brought emergency supplies and repair teams to get their ships moving. Some won't make it, Jack replied. We'll need to evacuate about 3,000 refugees onto our vessels. Eric nodded. We'll make it work. The Defiant can take about 1,000. The others can split the rest. Their planning was interrupted when Olivia burst into the room. Sirs, we have a new problem. Council ships have just entered the system. Reinforcements? Eric asked hopefully. Olivia shook her head. No, sir. They're positioning themselves between us and the jump point to Earth. They claim they're not taking sides, but they're blocking our escape route, Jack finished, making sure we can't leave before the Vorn arrive. On the engineering deck, Madison Clark was working with Nilari technicians to integrate some of their technology with Earth systems. Despite the language barrier, they had discovered that certain Nilari crystals could significantly boost shield capacity. If we can get these calibrated correctly, Madison explained to a Nilari engineer named Talon, we might stand a chance against the Vorn weapons. Talon nodded, his long fingers adjusting the crystal matrix. Our technology is not meant for war, but it can be adapted. As the humans and Nilari worked together to prepare for the coming conflict, a sense of unity began to form between the two species. They were strangers from different worlds, but in the face of a common threat, differences seemed to matter less than their shared determination to survive. The Vorn fleet drew ever closer, and time was running out. Captain Jack Miller knew they were outmatched, but he also knew that sometimes being human meant standing up for what was right, even against impossible odds. The bridge of the Horizon was tense as Captain Jack Miller studied the tactical display. The Vorn fleet had entered the system and was moving steadily toward their position. The Council ships maintained their blockade of the jump point to Earth, effectively trapping them. Options? Jack asked, looking at his officers. Olivia Hayes pointed to a gap in the Council formation. There's a weak spot here. If we time it right, we might be able to punch through with part of our fleet. And the rest? Ben Foster asked quietly. Jack knew what his first officer was really asking. Someone would need to stay behind to hold off the Vorn while the others escaped. He looked around at the faces of his crew, people he had served with for years, people he trusted with his life. I need volunteers to remain with the Horizon and cover the retreat, Jack said. Commander Doyle will lead the escape with as many Nilari ships as possible. To no one's surprise, every officer on the bridge stepped forward. Jack smiled sadly. I appreciate the spirit, but we need our best people getting those refugees to safety. He made quick assignments, splitting his crew between those who would stay and those who would go. When Eric Doyle was informed of the plan, he objected strongly. Jack, this is suicide. Let me stay with the Horizon instead. Your ships are faster and better armed, Jack replied firmly. You have a better chance of getting through the blockade and defending the refugees. That's the mission, Eric. Reluctantly, Eric agreed. The 4 human vessels, along with the 11 remaining Nilari ships, formed up in preparation for the desperate escape attempt. The 3,000 Nilari, whose ships were beyond repair, had been distributed among the human vessels. Madison Clark had successfully integrated Nilari crystal technology into their shields, giving them what she called a fighting chance against Vorn weapons. The Vorn fleet will be in firing range in 20 minutes, Olivia reported. Jack opened a channel to all ships. This is Captain Miller. We have one chance to get through that blockade. The Horizon will engage the Vorn to buy time. All other vessels will make for the jump point at maximum speed. He paused before adding, It has been an honor to serve with all of you. As the fleet prepared for the desperate maneuver, security, Chief Kyle Bennett approached Jack with an unexpected proposal. Sir, I'd like permission to lead a boarding party onto one of the Vorn vessels, he said. Jack stared at him in disbelief. A boarding party? That's even more suicidal than what we're already planning. Kyle shook his head. Not necessarily. The Nylari have shown us that their smaller ships can evade Vorn sensors. We could approach in one of those, attached to a Vorn vessel, and capture vital intelligence about their weapon systems. You realize you'd likely have no way back, Jack said quietly. I understand, sir, but if we're making a last stand, let's make it count. After consideration, Jack approved the plan. Kyle selected 5 volunteers from security, and 2 Nylari who knew how to operate their stealth vessels joined them. As the Vorn fleet approached, Jack gave the signal. The combined human Nylari fleet surged forward, with the horizon at the front, shields at maximum. Kyle's team launched in their small craft, immediately cloaking from sensors as they veered toward the largest Vorn vessel. The horizon fired first, its weapons enhanced with Nylari technology. The shot struck the lead Vorn ship, causing more damage than expected. For a moment, the Vorn seemed surprised by the effectiveness of Earth weapons. They're responding, Olivia called out. Multiple targeting locks. The Vorn returned fire, and despite the enhanced shields, the horizon shuddered under the impact. Behind them, the rest of the fleet accelerated toward the Council blockade. On Earth, news of the conflict had spread quickly. Public opinion had galvanized around protecting the Nylari. The president addressed the world, explaining the situation and the choice that had been made. Today, humanity stands for something greater than self-interest, she said. We stand for the belief that all sentient life deserves protection, that genocide is never acceptable, no matter who commits it or why. Preparations began for Operation Sanctuary, readying Earth for both Nylari settlement and potential Vorn retaliation. Military bases went on high alert, and civilian shelters were prepared. Back in space, the battle intensified. The horizon took heavy damage but continued to draw Vorn fire away from the escaping ships. Jack ordered erratic maneuvers, confusing the Vorn targeting systems just enough to buy precious seconds. Communications specialist Daniel Wright managed to hack into the Galactic Council's public broadcast network. Footage of Vorn attacks on Nylari civilian ships streamed to countless worlds, showing the truth of what had been happening while the Council looked away. Aboard the Vorn command ship, Kyle's team moved silently through the corridors. The aliens were taller than humans with rigid postures and angular features. Using Nylari telepathic abilities to detect approaching crew, they made their way to what appeared to be a central computer hub. Keep watch, Kyle whispered to his team as he and a tech specialist began downloading Vorn tactical data. The main screen suddenly showed a Vorn officer. Intruders detected in Sector 7, the officer announced. Security teams respond. Time to go, Kyle said, grabbing the completed data transfer. Back to the ship. They fought their way back through the corridors, losing 2 team members in the process. When they reached their craft, Kyle sent a transmission to the horizon. Captain, mission accomplished. We have their weapons specifications and fleet movements. Jack's voice came back, breaking up through static. Good work. Severe damage. Core breach imminent. Get that data to Earth. Kyle understood. The horizon was dying. What about extraction, sir? There was a pause before Jack replied. No extraction possible. Complete your mission, Chief. While Kyle's team escaped with the crucial intelligence, the horizon fought its final battle. The ship was barely holding together, with multiple decks exposed to space and most weapons offline. Jack looked around at his remaining crew, those who had volunteered to stay knowing what it meant. Target their lead vessel, all remaining power to engines. The horizon surged forward in one final desperate charge, straight toward the Vorn flagship. As they closed the distance, Jack opened a channel that broadcast to all ships in the area, including the watching Council vessels. They may call them aberrations, he said clearly. We call them neighbors. The horizon rammed into the Vorn flagship, its remaining weapons firing at point-blank range. The explosion was visible across the system, temporarily blinding sensors. In the confusion, Commander Doyle's ships, along with the Nylari vessels, broke through the Council blockade. Several Council ships moved as if to intercept, then held position, their captains perhaps affected by what they had just witnessed. Captain Miller and the Horizon are gone, Ben Foster reported solemnly aboard the Defiant. They took out 3 Vorn ships with them. Eric Doyle nodded, grief evident in his eyes. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. Let's make sure their sacrifice wasn't for nothing. As the surviving ships jumped away, leaving the battle behind, the Nilari aboard sang a soft, haunting melody, a song of remembrance for those who had given their lives for strangers from the stars. 2 weeks after the battle, the surviving ships arrived in Earth space. The journey had been difficult. Several Nilari vessels had barely made it, their engines failing in the final hours. The human ships had towed them the rest of the way. Lieutenant Gloria Foster, now commanding the damaged escort vessel Defiance, stood at the viewport as they approached Earth. Behind her, the bridge was crowded with Nilari children who had never seen a blue planet before. Their soft gasps of wonder reminded her why they had fought so hard. "It's beautiful," said Talon, the Nilari engineer who had worked with Madison Clark to enhance their shields. "We had heard stories of water worlds, but to see one," Gloria smiled at him. "Welcome to your new home." But the welcome was mixed with troubling news. Commander Eric Doyle was immediately summoned to Earth Command, where he learned the full consequences of their actions. "The Galactic Council has imposed severe sanctions on Earth," General Peterson explained to the assembled officers. "All trade and diplomatic relations have been cut off. Several of our outer colonies are already reporting supply shortages." "What about the Vorn?" Eric asked. The general's expression darkened. "They're mobilizing. Our long-range probes show they're assembling a much larger fleet than the one you encountered. Intelligence suggests they'll launch an assault on Earth within months." "We knew the risks," Eric replied. "And so did Captain Miller." The general nodded solemnly. His final message has been playing throughout Earth space. Public support for the Nilari is overwhelming. The president has authorized full integration of the refugees and immediate preparations for defense. The Nilari were temporarily housed in large facilities around the globe, but soon the first permanent settlements were established in remote areas of the Pacific Northwest and Northern Australia. Despite the resource shortages caused by the Council sanctions, many humans volunteered to help the refugees build new homes. Gloria Foster worked closely with Nilari engineers, using the knowledge and technology they offered to enhance Earth's defensive capabilities. It was a race against time, trying to prepare for a Vorn assault that would surely overwhelm them unless they found some advantage. "These shield modifications will help," Talon explained as they worked on upgrading Earth's orbital defense platforms. "But we cannot match Vorn firepower." "Then we'll have to be smarter than them," Gloria replied, studying the designs. "What about the data Chief Bennett recovered? Has it been fully analyzed?" Kyle Bennett had returned safely with his surviving team members and the stolen Vorn intelligence. The data had been immediately sent to Earth's best scientists and military strategists. "There's something important there," Talon said. "Something my people have suspected but never confirmed. The Vorn didn't attack us out of simple hatred. They attacked us out of fear." Gloria looked up, surprised. "Fear? Of what?" "Our telepathic abilities," Talon explained. "The Vorn subjugate other species using a form of mind control technology. They feared that as our abilities evolved, we might eventually be able to resist their control or even counter it. This revelation changed how Earth viewed the conflict. It wasn't just about protecting the Nilari. It was about preventing the Vorn from expanding their control to other worlds, including, eventually, Earth. Meanwhile, in a settlement medical center, a young Nilari child named Vila was recovering from injuries sustained during the escape. Nurse Patricia Alvarez had been caring for her for days, learning to communicate through a mixture of translated words and simple gestures. "You're getting better every day," Patricia said as she checked Vila's vital signs. Vila reached out and gently touched Patricia's hand. "I want to show you something." Patricia felt a strange but pleasant sensation, like a warm current flowing between them. Suddenly, she was experiencing Vila's memories, the beauty of the Nilari homeworld before the Vorn came, the terror of fleeing from planet to planet, and finally, the overwhelming gratitude when humans offered help when no one else would. When the connection ended, Patricia had tears in her eyes. I felt everything you felt. Vila nodded. This is how we share. This is how we understand each other. Can all your people do this? Patricia asked. Yes, but it requires trust. Both minds must be willing. This interaction led to a breakthrough in human-Nylari relations. As more humans experienced this telepathic sharing, a deeper understanding formed between the species. Doctors began studying how Nylari telepathy might be used to help treat human psychological trauma and certain neurological conditions. Dr. Alan Nichols, who had survived aboard one of the evacuation ships, established a research center dedicated to studying Nylari abilities. Their telepathic healing techniques could revolutionize human medicine, he explained to a group of colleagues. They can directly share emotional states, memories, and even help reorganize neural pathways damaged by injury or disease. In exchange for sanctuary, the Nylari freely offered their most precious knowledge, advanced medical techniques, telepathic training, and technology that began to transform human science. It was a partnership born of necessity but growing into something more profound. Earth's economy struggled under the Council sanctions, but humanity's resourcefulness prevailed. New supply lines were established to the colonies, and alternative materials were found for critical components previously imported from Council worlds. 3 months after the Nylari arrived, the intelligence recovered by Kyle Bennett was finally fully decrypted. It confirmed what Talon had said. The Vorn feared Nylari telepathic abilities because they might interfere with the mind control techniques used to dominate their empire. Even more significantly, the data contained the locations of several worlds where enslaved species lived under Vorn control. If these populations could be freed, the Vorn would lose much of their power. Gloria Foster presented these findings to Earth Command. We have an opportunity here. The Vorn aren't as united as they appear. If we can disrupt their control over these subjugated worlds, we might prevent the attack altogether. That's a big risk, General Peterson replied. We'd be going from defense to offense. We're already at war, General, Gloria said firmly. Captain Miller knew that when he made his stand. We can honor his sacrifice by finishing what he started, not just protecting the Nylari, but freeing others from Vorn control. As Earth debated this new strategy, long-range sensors detected movement at the edge of the solar system. Ships were arriving, but they weren't Vorn vessels. We're receiving identification signals, announced the operator at Earth's defense headquarters. 3 vessels from Council races, the Tellarites, Morrigan, and Zan Collective. Are they hostile? The general asked. No, sir. They're broadcasting on open frequencies. They say they've come to help. The arrival of these ships brought unexpected hope. It seemed that Captain Miller's final stand and Daniel Wright's broadcast of Vorn atrocities had affected some Council races, enough to break ranks. Perhaps humanity wasn't as alone in the galaxy as they had feared. 6 months after the Nylari arrived on Earth, the combined fleet of human and allied ships stood ready in Earth orbit. The 3 Council races that had broken away to help humanity, the Tellarites, Morrigan, and Zan Collective, had brought advanced technology and valuable intelligence about Vorn weaknesses. Admiral Frank Rivera, who now commanded Earth's defense forces, stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned flagship Guardian. Status report, he called. Vorn fleet has entered the outer solar system, reported the sensor officer. 87 ships detected moving in attack formation. Despite the reinforcements from their new allies, they were still heavily outnumbered. But they had something the Vorn didn't expect, a plan developed by humans and Nylari working together. Signal all ships, Frank ordered. Begin Operation Harmony. On the surface of Earth, in a specially built facility, 300 Nylari telepaths sat in a circle, joined by 50 human volunteers who had shown sensitivity to Nylari telepathic connections. Among them was Patricia Alvarez, who had formed a deep bond with young Vila. Dr. Alan Nichols supervised the gathering, monitoring their vital signs as they prepared for an unprecedented effort. Remember, he said to the assembled group, we're not trying to control the Vorn. We're trying to reach those they've enslaved. to help them break free. The Nylari had spent months studying the Vorn psychology through the captured data. They had developed a targeted telepathic broadcast that could disrupt Vorn command structures and help the subjugated species resist mind control. "Begin the link," Alan said softly. The Nylari joined hands, their minds connecting in a powerful network. The humans among them served as amplifiers, their brains acting like relay stations to boost the signal. Patricia felt Vila's mind touch hers, and then they were connected to hundreds of others, their thoughts forming a unified wave. In space, the Vorn fleet approached with overwhelming force, their weapons charged, targeting Earth's defenses. "They're opening fire," called out Gloria Foster from her position on the Defiance. The first volley struck Earth's enhanced shields, which held better than expected thanks to Nylari crystal technology. The human and allied ships returned fire, focusing on the weak points identified in Kyle Bennett's stolen data. "Vorn flagship is targeting the Guardian," the tactical officer reported to Admiral Rivera. "Hold position," Frank ordered. "We need to give the telepathic team time." On Earth, the combined human-Nylari telepathic network projected their unified message across space, targeting the thousands of enslaved beings aboard the Vorn vessels. It wasn't a command or an attack, it was a simple truth that resonated through their shared consciousness. "You are not alone. You can resist. We stand with you." Aboard the Vorn ships, something unexpected began to happen. The enslaved crew, members, beings from a dozen different species forced to serve under Vorn mind control, began to shake off their mental shackles. Years of suppressed resistance surged to the surface, strengthened by the telepathic support from Earth. "We're detecting unusual activity on multiple Vorn vessels," Gloria reported. "Power fluctuations, erratic movements. Some ships have stopped firing completely." Frank leaned forward. "This is it. Signal all ships to target the vessels still under Vorn control. Avoid firing on the ships showing signs of rebellion." The battle shifted dramatically as nearly a third of the Vorn fleet fell into chaos. On some ships, the enslaved crew members openly rebelled against their Vorn masters. On others, the Vorn maintained control but were busy fighting internal battles, rather than attacking Earth. The Allied fleet pressed the advantage, focusing their fire on the remaining Vorn vessels. The Defiance, under Gloria's command, led a strike team that disabled the Vorn flagship's main weapons. "Admiral," Gloria called, "we've opened a gap in their defenses. Should we board their command ship?" "Negative," Frank replied. "Our goal isn't to destroy them. It's to free their captives and force a retreat." The telepathic broadcast continued, growing stronger as more subjugated beings broke free and added their own mental strength to the network. The Vorn commanders, facing rebellion on their own ships and a more effective defense than expected, began to fall back. "They're retreating," the sensor officer announced with disbelief in his voice. "The Vorn fleet is breaking formation and withdrawing from the system." On Earth, the telepathic circle slowly released their connection. Many were exhausted, some unconscious from the effort, but their faces showed triumph. They had done what was thought impossible. They had repelled a Vorn invasion without destroying most of the fleet. "Why aren't we pursuing them?" asked a young officer on the Guardian. "Because this was never about destroying the Vorn," Frank explained. "It was about showing there's another way. Cooperation instead of domination." In the days that followed, several liberated ships from the Vorn fleet approached Earth. Their crews, beings of various species who had been enslaved for generations, requested asylum and offered to stand with Earth against any future attacks. News of the battle spread quickly through Council space. The fact that humans had defended themselves without resorting to genocide made an impression. More Council members began to question their policy of non-interference and tolerance of Vorn aggression. 1 month after the battle, Earth received a formal communication from the Galactic Council. The sanctions were being lifted, and Earth was invited to join as a full member, with the Nylari recognized as under Earth's protection. "They're afraid of us now," Eric Doyle suggested, as Earth's leadership discussed the invitation. "No," replied the president. "They respect us. There's a difference. We showed them that standing up for what's right isn't just idealism, it's strength." 1 year after first contact, a memorial ceremony was held for the crew of the Horizon. A monument had been erected in a park where human and Nilari children played together. The statue depicted Captain Jack Miller standing beside Elder Lyra, their hands extended toward the stars. Admiral Frank Rivera unveiled a new class of Earth, ships designed with Nilari assistance. These vessels aren't just warships, he explained to the gathered crowd. They're exploration ships, medical ships, rescue ships, built to continue what the Horizon started. The lead ship of this new class was christened the Miller in honor of the captain who had made the first stand. Its crew included both humans and Nilari, working side by side as equals. Gloria Foster had been given command, with Talon serving as her chief engineer. As the ceremony concluded, a message arrived from deep space. Another refugee species had been detected fleeing from persecution in a distant sector. Without hesitation, Earth dispatched ships to offer sanctuary and assistance. "A year ago we were alone in the galaxy," the president said in her address, newcomers to a community that seemed indifferent to suffering. Today we stand as its conscience. The Miller departed Earth orbit, leading a small fleet to meet the new refugees. On its hull was emblazoned a new motto, written in both human and Nilari script: "None left behind." As they accelerated to jump speed, Gloria Foster looked at her. Mixed crew, humans and Nilari working in perfect harmony. She thought of Captain Miller of the Horizon's sacrifice, and of how one act of courage had changed the course of galactic history. "Set course for the refugee coordinates," she ordered. "Let's bring them home."